we've heard both parties we've mostly heard from Bilal. And Bilal had said in one of his interviews that he would only fight Kamaru Usman for the appropriate money. Okay, so this started a lot of conversations online. But before I get into this, Toby, did you get to listen to Bilal Mohammed's side with regards to fighting Kamaru Usman?
Yes, yes, I did. I don't know. Belal is beginning to sound very delusional. He said a lot of things that were really weird and cringe. He said if he beats Usman, he's on the same level as GSP. Blah blah. I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. To be fair, he said he wants champions money if he to fight Usman. I'm like, the UFC only pay very few people that type of money that he's talking about, and he's definitely not in that category. So I don't know whether this is him
Yeah,
trying to his way of selling the fight, or I don't know, is he trying to shy away from the fight? I really don't understand what Belal is doing right now.
yeah, but something I think currently he might likely be the person. So there's a lot of angles coming into this from Kamaru Usman's point of view and from Bilal's point of view. First of all, let's talk about the big dog, who is Dana White, right? Who has the say so. So Dana White, in I think a week ago, one of the press conferences, he mentioned that everybody in the top 10 of the welterweights now have fights. So obviously we got to see that Kobe Covington will fight Usman, will fight uh, the Birmingham boy,
Leon,
Leon
Leon,
Edwards.
yeah,
But some fights have not been announced, i.e., the number one contender versus the number three contender, which is Kamaru Usman versus Bilal Mohammed, which is the only fight that made sense. Somebody asked Dana White, how about Bilal Mohammed? He said Bilal has a fight. But I believe the reason why this fight hasn't been announced, I'm pretty sure they are still sitting down on a negotiations table with Bilal, and Bilal is trying to get as much money as he can. First of all, from what I can remember, from what we've been hearing, there's this thing called pay-per-view points, right? Pay-per-view points are like a part of pay-per-view revenue that the UFC would pay you. You would have to be a big enough draw to get that kind of willing power. So Kamaru Usman, when he was champion, he had that. I remember, I believe it was he negotiated that when he was doing his two fights with Masvidal. And even Colby Covington, that is a very big draw, does not have pay per view points for as long as I can remember in his contract. So now that makes you think, is Bilal Mohammed a draw enough to get the type of money he's asking for? First of all, we don't know what money he's asking for, but this with what Dana White has said and with what we've heard from Bilal Mohammed, it sounds like they are still sitting on a negotiation table, and it's Bilal Mohammed that is asking for more. With this my analogy, what do you think? But before we do, let's get into the comment section. All right, Jesse Genoway says Bilal is getting the next title shot to take the fight with Usman is a huge risk because Usman more than likely wins. I see that point, but Bilal wants to get paid. He's not really an exciting fighter per se. I think his best performance would probably be from Shelby. What was that guy's name? The guy that the undefeated
but
welterweight.
do
And sorry.
yeah, he says that Belal is getting the next title shot. I'm not sure how set in stone that is. The
Yeah,
UFC
so so
tends to
so
chop and
so
change every
the
now and
UFC
then.
doesn't
So
the UFC don't like him because that's the only explanation for why Dana White will turn around and be like Kobe Covington is getting the next shot, because by merit and by body of work, Bilal Muhammad deserves it, but by money making, Kobe is like above him in drawing power. Hence why that happened. Yeah, Sean Brady. Thank you, Green Tea. And Jesse also says maybe not, but he's definitely most deserving. Yes, he is most deserving, but he hasn't got the drawing power. And Temba says Toby got that basket mouth look today. Yo, Toby, Temba is coming for you.
Temba is
Thanks,
just
Green
showing me
Tea.
love. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the here's where the dilemma is, right? Usman lost his title and he lost his rematch. And with the caliber of Usman, he feels like he should headline a pay per view. First of all, to take advantage of his pay per view points, right? And when UFC tends to do things like that, they would rather fill that card with just like rivalry fights with no titles because that's how the business is, right? But then for Usman to be justified to main event a pay per view for not the title, it would have to be a very, very good B side. B side in the person that he's going to fight. That's why I believe he was trying to get that Chimaev fight because he felt like Chimaev would be the biggest draw for them to kind of like justify a main event. You understand that it's not for the title because he would probably feel like, if I fight in in a pay per view under somebody else, or it wouldn't be nice, it wouldn't be a good look because we saw Kobe. Kobe lost for the title, but for the longest time, Kobe has been fighting in main events and he has never been a champion. So like if you look at that comparison, Usman is kind of stuck in a situation where if he fights Bilal Muhammad, it would definitely not be a main event of a pay per view. But I guess those are one of the things that the UFC and Bilal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman are trying to discuss. Yes, but yes. With that being said, you mentioned that Bilal sounded delusional when he says beating Kamaru Usman would make him a goat. Fair play to him. He's gone 10 fights unbeaten. He was quite active last year. In his resume, he's got undefeated Sean Brady. He's got Thompson. He's got who? Gilbert Burns. He's got who else does he have in there? He fought Leon Edwards, but that was a draw. But before that fight,
He
that
was
was
losing
like a
that
no
fight, wasn't
contest.
he?
He was losing pretty bad because Leon was tearing him up.
Scared. Yeah, he was getting.
But what do you think? What's keeping this fight from being announced? And even if it gets announced, where do you see the placement would be? When I say placement, is it going to be a main event? Is it going to be what do you think is going to happen? Because yes, you guys in the comment section, please, you guys chime in. Kamaru Usman versus Bilal Mohammed, where do you think that fight is going to be? Is it going to be a main event of a pay per view? Do you think it's going to be the main event of a fight night? Or do you think it's going to be maybe a co main of a pay per view? Where do you rank that fight? How much do you think people are interested in seeing that the UFC will build a pay per view around it so people can buy that fight? Let us know in the comment section. But Toby, what do you think? This question goes to you as well.
Uh, for me, I feel like just as you said, it's the money that is holding up this fight being announced, right? And because for Belal, it's a very risky fight for him, especially if he does not win. So I think he's trying to get paid as much. For Usman too, the fight is about money. Usman is getting towards the tail end of his career. He needs to make as much as he possibly can. So obviously that's why he wants this fight to be a big one, as you said, get the paper. So he's like, I feel like Belal is like, okay, so if you are getting paid, then I should get paid. So I feel like once they can find a way to work around the money and then make it make sense for both parties, I feel like but it's a fight that I feel like we just have to get. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, Jesse Dunaway says you think that
That's
this
cool,
it
man.
has to be a co-main, but it's genuinely tough to say because Bilal isn't a draw. I think it could be a main event for a fight night. Yeah, but that's where Usman will not want to agree because of
Hmm.
his contract. He has pay-per-view points in on there. He wouldn't want to be on a fight night because that's not good business for him. He wants to get some of that pay-per-view money. So that is a big
Yeah.
dilemma for Usman. There isn't really any good B side for him
Is there
except
any
if
card
Mas
right now that is lacking a co-main? Is there any pay-per-view that's no? I know
I think
they
they've been
flooded
booked
this card with.
all till
They've
December.
all
Every
been
card
booked
is
till
filled up.
December, yeah? Yeah.
Speaking with Temba on Instagram, he wanted to get on the Kobe Covington card because they train together, and unfortunately that card is full. Yeah, yeah. So pretty booked up till the end of the year. Maybe first early next year. We'll see about that. All right, this is a good point for me to let you guys know while we are on audio form for podcast listeners. If you would want to listen to us rather than watch us, you could feel free to do that. We upload immediately after the live stream. And also we are on Patreon. So you could send us questions, you could send us such suggestions for segments. We could do all of that. You could actually even join us here and air your opinions. Feel free to join our Patreon supporters. Yeah, so Patreon are kind of having a new deal going on where you could subscribe non-paid subscribers. So it's a really good interface where you could really build a community and stuff. So I think this would be good for if you feel like you can't pay, you could join for free and then we could all be